All right, so Wealth Wednesdays. Today, I actually want to get started and add a little bit of twist and spice to it, right? Talking about mindset and wealth. So, what type of mindset do you have? Must you have to come in and start a business? And there's no black or white, right? It's just very what works for you in that given moment. What's creativity? What are you good at? Understanding your weaknesses and your strength. Not every business you jump into includes having a ton of money. Some of them, some businesses just happen without intent, right? It's just from people being creative, such as artists, music, or just actually painting. Um, Most people don't come from a lot of money, so that is where their ideas and creativity kicks in, right? And just to give y'all a little bit of background from where I come from, I want to let y'all know I don't come from any money. My parents are immigrants from Mexico. I'm first generation here in the States. I wasn't given any resources. I don't come from any money. I've never been around any business. I've never been familiar with businesses. I never even knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've never even heard that word up until I was in high school. All right. I didn't even know sales was a career. So I want to let y'all know I got started pretty late, but it's better late than never. Okay. I want to let y'all know that for those of y'all who don't have any hope, who don't have any belief that y'all can make it, it's very possible. All right, business is not this thing. When I was younger, I used to think of business owners and businessmen as this very top tier thing, and making 20, 30, $40,000 a month was mind blowing to me. I could never even see myself making that type of money, right? Because all I knew was school. That's all my parents would push on to me. That's all they knew. That's all they seen, and that's all they would push on to us. So my only concern was what career pays the most money. And I would always research that. So I actually started studying architect and trying to get a better idea and a better feel to how I can start going in there towards houses. Now, I was always very curious and intrigued by the architecture, the structures, um, and a lot of history. All right, that's always been my biggest thing. So, number one thing you should know about yourself. What catches your attention? All right. What are you very curious about? What catches your interest? What can you do without actually looking at the time that makes the time go by fast? And I think that's one of the things that will really start triggering something. Now, if you still don't know, then I will say this, right? You have to think about two things. If you're really desperate to make some money, then I would say just follow a blueprint, follow the map. If you have no idea what business to start to generate one, five, $10,000 a month, I'll do this. If you message me or comment somewhere down below, um, I don't know, I'll say something, but comment that you're interested, and I'll record and break down every single business that I'm in that I was able to jump into: the car rental business, Airbnb, and real estate, and also the credit game now, right? How I was able to build up my credit, personal credit. I actually invested and hired three companies, which was in a time span of about 2 years. So they can fix my credit, repair it, right? Because the number one thing and mindset that the Hispanic community pushes onto you is never use credit. Never use credit cards, don't get in debt, credit is bad. So that was my number one mindset, right? When I built up my credit when I was 18, I went crazy. I started getting high limit credit cards. I started understanding the banks, and I maxed out the credit cards. I was in sales. So if you know anything about sales is not always good. You have your ups and you have your lows. All right. I went in from making $2,000-$3,000 a month, to making an instant $10,000-$12,000 in sales. Okay, so sales is definitely a very good industry to be in. It doesn't matter what specifically. I was selling cars personally, but I didn't like it. Okay, so that put me in a huge hole, and I had to figure out how can I get myself out of that hole. All right, I dug my own grave. How do I crawl out of it? So I learned how to fix credit. I started understanding everything I could about the bureaus, about the banks, the lenders, what they look at, the data points, how to get approved, filling out an application, your income, how long you are at your job, how long you're at your residence, how much your debt to income is. I mean, everything. I understood everything. And I started practicing on myself. I learned how to fix my credit. And then from fixing my credit, I got access to large amounts of money. All right. Now, to start off with, I had access to about $30,000 in credit cards. Okay. From there, I started on trying to figure out, well, if I don't have any money, how is it that I can transition into getting large debt, right? Because one thing you'll learn is, I've always been into history, so I've always studied pretty wealthy people. And the one thing you will notice about them is that they have large sums of debt. So I would study everything I could about them. And I realized, well, every wealthy person is in some type of debt. So I want to see how. What I did is I built up my personal credit and I acquired some cars. I acquired the cars. I created the car rental business. I started running it. I used my credit card to put the down payment at 0% interest. The business started running, which I leveraged Turo to help me out, bring clientele, and then I have marketing experience. So I was able to build out my private rental business off of Turo, and now we've been growing and coming along, and now I don't even use Turo. All right, so you don't need to have a ton of money to get started. All right, so if you're interested, message me, or comment somewhere in the message below, or message me directly on Instagram, and I'll give you free access to it. Again, this is exactly how I started with Airbnb, car rental business, and real estate. I'll give you all those videos for free. So the mindset, we'll go back to the mindset. You must believe that it's possible. You cannot get scared about numbers, okay? You can't get scared. There's some people who get very stuck on making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. There's some people that think it's impossible to make $10,000 a month, $15,000, $20,000 a month. All right, and if you're stuck with that mindset and you think something is not possible, it's going to be very hard to even get through that next thing. All right. And I'll tell you that because every time I used to talk to my parents when I was living back at home, I would tell them about some of my plans, some about my ideas. And they would always think the numbers that I would give them, it was completely insane numbers. And I'm not talking extreme numbers. I'm not talking about millions. I'm talking $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, right? And that was always my idea. Once I start making $20,000, $30,000 a month, I'll be good. Well, I now make that. I make about $30,000, $40,000 just juggling Airbnb and the car rental business, and it's not that exciting. All right, there's a lot more things that go into it, and you see that. Don't get me wrong, it's still exciting, but that's not all profit. All right, so I never could understand or believe how I could leverage debt to make me money. And then I got into car rental business, I got into Airbnb, and then it started running, it started flowing. Money started coming in. My perspective started getting very wide. And once I saw that was possible, it was just copy and paste. Let me get more, let me get more. Once I started understanding that blueprint, then I just started kind of scaling with it. All right, obviously some things change. Your ideas, your beliefs change, and it definitely takes a lot. For one, changing your environment to be able to scale that perspective, to be able to break through any of those limited beliefs, which in this case, if you don't believe you can make X amount of money, then you're not going to do it. All right, you're blocking yourself from that. And a lot of times, one thing that we don't understand is our environment, our parents, our friends, that same community, that area where we're living in is holding us down. Okay, a lot of people are always so stuck on the idea that I want to bring everybody with me. I want my friends to grow with me. I want to tell my parents everything that I'm doing. That was one of my biggest mistakes and my errors now. I see that because it slowed me down a lot. All right, again, I would share my ideas and my dreams with family, with friends, and everybody thought I was crazy and that would kind of throw some shade and think it was impossible. Um, and now, now I'm doing way bigger things. So it's something they kind of had to swallow that hard pill and like, oh shit, we have to accept it. But it was one of those things where they would always throw some shade, right? How's your little business going? Is your little business doing good? Are you making money? And you just got to learn to ignore some of those comments. Push yourself away from those, because if people don't see that you're putting in the effort and your time and your commitment to try to grow and build something, breaking that curse, that generational curse, right? Because if you don't come from nothing, who's going to help you out? Who's been guiding you? And that's one of those struggles that I had. I wanted to try to help everybody out, but not everybody wanted to grow with me. And if you let people slow you down, if you let their mindset and beliefs slow you down and not allow you to think that it's possible, you're going to put yourself in a bigger hole. All right. You're always going to get discouraged. You're going to try to prove people wrong. You're going to try to get them to see your perspective. But in reality, it's your vision. It's your dreams. There's no reason you should be trying to convince them. The best way to convince somebody to see your vision is go and do it, execute it on that, whatever it is you're trying to do, and let them see. Show them with your action. Show them the results. Results speak louder than words. All right. So you have to break out of yourself of whatever limited beliefs you might have, if you have some. If you don't think you have, or if you don't think you can hit X amount of money a month, switch your environment. Go talk to some new people. Replace those friends. All right. Having the right mindset to be in business, it can be very intense. Okay. When I first made the transition from an from a job into the entrepreneurship world, it was pretty difficult. But I will say this: when I went from a job, I went into sales. Okay. I did sales for 4 years. In sales, it's a bit more intense because you're 100% commission. You have to generate your own leads. In the car business, that's something that I learned, right? I didn't want to be attacking everybody. I didn't want to jump up and run outside and try to sell a car, try to convince them. That's not me. I don't like convincing people. If you're not already sold on what I'm showing you, then I don't have to try to sell you. I'm going to go on to the next person. Okay. So being in the car business, it actually showed me and taught me a lot about sales, about marketing, about psychology, about how people work, about how they can be sold on that one thing before I ever try to convince them. All right. Also, working 60 to 80 hours a week, it was pretty brutal. And especially on 100% commission. All right. You start to understand, well, if I'm already here, then I might as well put in the work. I need to get some sales. I need to talk to some people. So what do I got to do? All right. And so that was my cheat. All right. That was my cheat, shortcut, whatever you want to call it, into transitioning into the entrepreneurship world. I also learned a lot about CRMs, which is customer relationship management, where you store each prospect information, their database, right, which is their full name, email, phone number, what they're interested in, whatever, all the notes. And I got most of that systems, and I took that with me into marketing and real estate. All right, so I didn't really start from scratch. I had 4 years of experience in sales and understood marketing, and then I grew from there. Okay, but if you have no money, you have no skills, you have no knowledge, you don't have anything, you need to understand one thing. What is it that you can do that can, for one, create that stream of income? All right, while you're at your job, don't see your job as an enemy either. You can use your job to fund that idea, whatever it is that you might have. Okay, I can only share what I've done that has worked for me, that I still do to this day, that I've built a business on using none of my money. Again, and just message me on Instagram or comment below, and I'll share that link or that course with you. I'm going to be recording some videos where I share and break down every single thing step by step on how I was able to leverage my credit to build up those businesses and how they're doing now. Okay, so the mindset. We go back to mindset. You can't get discouraged when being in here. You're jumping into business is not always going to be up very shiny days. All right, you're gonna have a lot of down days. It's about when you're first getting started, it's very rough. You gotta stay you gotta be disciplined. A lot of people like to call it motivation. I don't believe in motivation. I think motivation is a bunch of bullshit. People are just looking for something to inspire them and always looking for that next big thing. Discipline is just getting up and just do what the fuck you gotta do. Right? I personally don't need any motivation. I don't need anything to excite me to get up. I have enough life problems and chaos going on that I stay super disciplined. All right. And also the fear of going back to a job. It wakes me up. It keeps me up at night, and it also wakes me up early to keep going at it. Okay. So make sure, for one, this is another thing. Breaking out of relationships, friendships, you will lose a lot of family. You will lose a lot of friendships. If you're in a relationship, make sure you have a partner that supports you. All right, because it will be tough. It's going to be a lot of days where you will spend time away from that one person, where you will be mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, where you will spend hours away from them, where this depends how serious you are, right? And how wealthy you're trying to be. My goal is very big compared to a lot of people, so I can't really speak for y'all, but I will say it, at least in the first 3 years, just make sure you're fully committed and disciplined to that, yourself and your goals, and try to cut off anything else, any distractions that do not align with this one final goal. Now, also, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to create multiple businesses. All right, my biggest mistake was trying to create multiple businesses and streams of income. Why do I say that? Well, number one, if you want to create multiple businesses, make sure they're linear. All right, make sure they all go hand in hand. All right, if I'm in the Airbnb business, I should be trying to do about a property management business or a construction business or something that goes hand in hand with that, right? But I did real estate, which is I focus on acquiring investment properties, and then wholesaling it or flipping them, and also now being able to develop them. I did Airbnb, I did car rental business. Those have nothing to do with each other, and also focusing on the credit game, right? I help people build their credit, build their personal credit up, and then teach them how to leverage that credit to be able to fund their business or their ideas or scale that business. Again, has nothing to do with it. All right, they all have completely different strategies, knowledge. You have to understand multiple different things, and they all can go wrong, and they all have different problems. All right, so pick one business. Again, if you don't know what to do, what type of business to create, I'm going to leave those businesses that I've created. You can do what you want with that. Or if you already have a business in mind, go back to my previous video where I talk about and break down in depth more about marketing, sales, and the product or the service, right? Actually understanding that one product. All right. You have to understand, are you doing something just for the money, or do you actually want to build a legacy and build something long term? All right. Because by building a business, you want to understand how you're going to be exiting from it. All right. You don't want to just start a business and let it go. Figure out, well, if I build it and I get to X amount of sales, if I get this audience, this clientele, can I sell the business off? All right. That's another one of the big things that I learned myself. That is why I'm transitioning into other bigger things. So yeah, that's what I can speak about today. I've been working all day. I've been running exhausted, mentally, physically exhausted. So any questions pop up, then just drop them in the comments.